AITA for kicking an autistic child out of my restaurant for misbehaving. My name is Gina. I'm 55 years old, and I live in upstate New York. My husband and I own and run a small family-style pizzeria that we've been operating for over 2 decades. It's the kind of place that locals know and love. Nothing fancy, just good pizza, warm smiles, and a space that we hoped would always feel welcoming and comfortable for families, kids, teenagers, seniors, everyone. But let me be honest, the last few years in this business have felt different, very different. And I know I'm not alone in feeling this. Anyone who's been in the service industry since before the pandemic will tell you the same thing. People have changed. We're seeing more entitlement, more rudeness, more people acting like rules don't apply to them or their kids. And, most frustratingly of all, more parents who treat public places like personal living rooms and expect the rest of the world to adjust to their child's needs, without question. One of the biggest problems we've run into lately is technology use, especially with kids. So we had to set a very simple policy. No using speakerphone, no blasting music or cartoons from personal devices, and no loud sounds coming from tablets or phones. It's basic courtesy, and it used to be common sense. Before the pandemic, we rarely had to say anything. People just knew how to behave. But these days, I can't even count how many times I've had to approach a table and ask someone to please lower the volume on their phone or iPad, only to be met with eye rolls, attitude, or a flat-out refusal. You'd think I just insulted their child instead of asking for a little respect for others in the room. So yes, we've put up signs. Clear, polite signs. And yes, we do enforce the rule, kindly, but firmly. We want everyone to enjoy their meal. That includes the family at table 3 and the couple at table 5 who maybe just wanted a quiet dinner out. Now, on to what happened that made me ask, am I the asshole? A few weeks ago, a woman came into the restaurant with her son, who looked to be around 9 years old. They sat down, placed an order, and everything seemed fine at first. But within minutes, the boy had a tablet on the table playing some cartoon show at full volume, while the mother scrolled through TikTok on her phone, also on speaker. It was just noise, overlapping sounds from 2 devices, echoing through the restaurant. Other diners started looking over, clearly bothered. So I walked over and said, in my calmest voice, "Hi there. I just want to remind you that we ask all customers to keep phones and tablets on silent or use headphones, just to keep the environment comfortable for everyone." The mother looked at me, almost offended, and said, "My son has ADHD and autism. He needs this in order to sit still. If he doesn't have something to focus on, he'll have a meltdown." I replied, still politely, "I completely understand. And I appreciate you sharing that. Would it be possible to use headphones instead? That way he can enjoy his show without disturbing the other guests." Her response? "He doesn't like headphones." "He won't wear them," I said. "I'm really sorry, but in that case, we'll have to ask you to either mute the tablet or take it off speaker. It's just one of our basic rules here." She rolled her eyes, but eventually turned down the volume, though not by much. I walked away, hoping things wouldn't escalate. About 10 minutes later, I was in the kitchen when I heard loud banging, like someone slamming fists against a table. I rushed out, and sure enough, the boy was pounding the table repeatedly with both hands. His face was red, and he was visibly frustrated. But what stood out most was the mother, just sitting there, scrolling on her phone, doing absolutely nothing. It honestly felt like she was waiting for someone to say something so she could pounce, like it was all a setup. I approached her again and said, "Mom, I really need you to help calm your son down. He's disturbing the other customers." She responded, "He's autistic. This is how he behaves when he's overstimulated." At that exact moment, her son got up and began running through the restaurant, screaming, punching and kicking at chairs, knocking over salt shakers, even slapping someone's booth as he ran past. Another customer, who'd clearly had enough, yelled, "Lady, control your kid or I will." That's when the mother stood up and launched into what honestly sounded like a rehearsed speech. Children with autism have just as much of a right to be in public spaces as anyone else. You don't get to dictate how my child experiences the world. And let me be clear, I agree. Children with autism do deserve to be in public spaces. I want that to be crystal clear. Inclusion is important. Understanding is important. But here's the part I think people don't want to say out loud. Inclusion does not mean exemption from all responsibility. Everyone, regardless of age, ability, or diagnosis, has a responsibility to behave in a way that doesn't endanger or seriously disturb others. I told her, calmly but firmly, if your child is having this much difficulty and you're unable to help him calm down, I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave. That's when she got really angry. She shouted that I was discriminating against a child with a disability, that I was violating the AITA, that she was going to sue us. At that point, my husband stepped in. He boxed up their food, handed it to her, and said, "You need to leave right now." She looked absolutely stunned, like no one had ever told her no before. As she walked out, she yelled over her shoulder, "Kids aren't robots. The world needs to learn to be more tolerant of people who are different." And again, I agree. But tolerance doesn't mean letting your child destroy a shared space while you do nothing. Here's something a lot of people don't know about me. My husband and I raised 5 children, one of them with special needs. We know what it's like. We've been there. We understand meltdowns. We understand sensory challenges. We've had to leave birthday parties early. We've had to cancel dinners. We've had to explain things to teachers and strangers alike. But what we never did, was use our child's diagnosis as a free pass to let him hurt others, scream in public without trying to help him, or destroy property while we sat by doing nothing. If your child has such severe difficulty regulating their behavior that they can't be in a restaurant without causing chaos, maybe the restaurant isn't the right place for them right now. That doesn't mean you're bad. That doesn't mean you're bad. That doesn't mean you're bad. It means they need support, and you need to choose spaces that are safe for everyone, including them. What really gets me is how many parents these days treat any correction or boundary as an attack, as if asking for a little volume control is some kind of ableist crime. It's not. It's basic decency. This isn't about autism. It's not about ADHD. It's about entitlement. It's about parents who think the world needs to adapt to them, but never the other way around. We work hard, we're tired, we love our customers, and we love kids. But not when they're running wild, hurting others, or being used as shields for their parents' refusal to parent. So, I ask you, am I the asshole for asking a mother and her autistic son to leave my restaurant after repeated disruptions and zero effort on her part to manage it? Because I don't think I am, but maybe someone out there sees it differently.